Okay, today, what I'm going to do is go over 6.8, which is, we're gonna graph square root and other radical functions. And I'm also going to go over the inverses, which will help you with 6.7. So 6.8 is talking about graphing radical functions. But 6.7 dealt with inverses of radicals, and it's very difficult to do for you guys to do. I'm seeing that you're struggling with solving, like finding the inverses of radicals if you don't know how to graph them. So actually 6.8 should really come before part of 6.7, if that makes any sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 6.8 right now, part of it. And then we're gonna go back over 6.7, and I think that those questions will be a lot easier for you, okay? So I want you to take a look at this square root function right here. Okay, let's investigate this for a minute. First of all, do you know what shape this is gonna, you gotta be able to recognize the shape of it. How would you
Like a
describe
ramp?
No, it's just like
A ramp?
yeah,
Like
Just
that,
like-
a
yeah.
ramp, okay?
like half
Am
a
I-
parabola. There you
Half
go.
a parabola on its side. Actually, that's a good description. I think of a rocket. It's on the ground
It
and
would
it takes
definitely
off.
fall. Like crash.
So,
Live swaps.
why do you think that this thing, it's not like, it doesn't go from one side to the other side, negative infinity to infinity. Why do you think that it goes, it starts here?
You can't have a negative.
Aha, he said it. Y equals, here's your function, y equals the square root. Why does it start here and go, why doesn't it go the other way? Well, because we have an issue. And the issue
Can you have
is
negative square roots?
you take the square root of a number, it has to be positive. So if we made a table of values, what's the very smallest number that you could take the square root of?
0?
0. And what is the square root of 0? If you put 0 here, what would you get? What's the next number that you could square root off the top of your head without whipping out a calculator? 1. What's the square root of 1?
4,
4,
9,
9,
16.
16.
25.
You know I could keep going on, right?
49.
Huh?
49.
49.
36.
Well, I want to do out of order.
What about 36?
That's what I said.
I didn't hear anybody say 36.
Are you coming out of order?
I heard. Okay, so what are you doing? You're taking this number and taking the square root of it. So, if we were to, I want you to just concentrate on these 3 points. You know why these 3?
Because they're small and easy to
Because they're
grab.
on the graph. I'd love to look at these other ones, but it's overkill.
The life's not.
So, does everybody understand 0, 0? Think of that as home base. And you go, you're gonna go over 1 and up 1, over 4, so this would be 4 and this would be 2. Does everybody agree with that?
Shot.
Now, if I asked you what is the domain in the range of this function, could you do this for me? What does domain mean? The x values. What x values are we using for this? Are we using -1, -2, -3?
Positive.
So what is the domain? The domain would be x is greater than or equal to 0. Do you get that?
Yeah.
So we started here, and any number that was positive, we could take the, do you know we could take the square root of 2 and 3 and 5? We just didn't do it. Why? Why didn't we do those? Why did we skip over them? Is it because you can't do them? It's no, they're gonna be decimals and you need a calculator. We're trying to do these with our brain, not with technology right now. Now, how would you say the range? Look at your y values.
just greater than
What is it? Well, how would you describe it?
y is greater than or equal to 0.
Okay, so does everybody understand that? Now watch this. Now I'm going to, and I hope you guys filled in this information. So for your table, you should have 0, 1, and 4. We'll just stick with these three. And you get 0, 1, and 2. And your domain is x is greater than or equal to 0, y is greater than or equal to 0. And when you graphed it, this is what you should have gotten. Questions so far? Now, if I were to ask you, like what we did yesterday, to do the inverse of this, well, what does inverse mean?
You switch to
Flip
y.
column.
You switch your x and your y.
The only one that changed.
So this is what you had. This is what you had. How do you switch x and y? Tell me what my next line's gonna read.
X equals the square root of
Okay, now what did I tell you to do? Don't leave your equation like this. Solve for y. Get y by itself, right? How do I get rid of y?
Square
y.
it.
Square root.
Or get, so think of this as it's packaged. We wanna unwrap that. You're gonna square both sides. Do you all, whoop, not y squared, just y. Do you all agree that is what you get when you take the inverse? But ladies and gentlemen, what's the shape of this? Do you recognize?
Parabola.
It's a
You're
parabola.
extraneous.
It's a parabola. Now, could I ask you to do me a favor? And could I ask you to give me the inverse of these 3 points, just off the graph? So this is
0, 0, 1,
actually
1,
easy.
4, 2.
It's kind of boring.
2, 4.
The inverse of 0, 0 is 0, 0. Inverse of 1, 1 is 1, 1. How about the inverse of 4, 2?
2, 4.
Yes, so it actually looks like this, right here. So the inverse of this is this, right? But according to my lovely new equation, I don't have just this, I actually have more. I have this. And I'm gonna do a dotted line, right? This is the, if you took the orange and the dotted, that is the equation of that, right? But what do we do with the domain and the range when we're doing inverse? What did I tell you to do? And unfortunately, it's not always gonna be the same number here. And you'll see it in the next two columns. You switch them. So your domain is gonna be x is greater than or equal to 0, and your range is gonna be y is greater than or equal to 0. I switched them around. Now I want you to look at these two, these are called restrictions. Does this make sense? Even though I have a parabola here, if I say the domain is only x is greater than 0,
You get rid of the x.
I have that. So I am, by writing this, I am eliminating this extra piece. And by saying y is greater than or equal to 0, that's just, it's just confirming that this is the answer and not all of it. So how do I write this? Did my original pass the horizontal line test? It did. So guess what? My inverse is a function, so I can write this. But make sure you have the domain and the range written down correctly. Now, unfortunately, this was a boring one, but the next two, you'll see it a little bit better. You got two problems here. We're gonna do one at a time. You've got y is equal to the square root of x plus 2. So you have y. Do you remember the transformations? Don't look at this one right here. Just concentrate on this first equation.
2.
Do you guys remember what happened to the parent function? What does this plus 2 tell you it's gonna do?
Move to the left 2 spaces.
It's gonna shift your graph 2 units what? Up,
Left.
down, left, or right?
Left.
Up,
Oh, up 2.
up 2. This is gonna be down 3. Right? when you have a number after, it shifts it up or down. So could you for me graph this function on the graph paper? What does it look like? Well, you're gonna go 2 units up, and do you remember that little pattern we did? Over 1, up 1, over 4, and up 2.
Got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, without doing too much work, can you tell me, I want the domain in the range of this. Where did this thing start? What x value did we start at?
All real numbers greater than, or no, x is greater than or equal to
Yes, so I want you to, for me, right here, your domain is gonna be x is greater than or equal to 0.
0.
Can you tell me what the range is?
Y is greater than or equal to 0, to or 2.
Good job. Now, just draw a line right here. Draw a line right here. And I'm, like I said, I'm combining these 2 sections. What would the inverse of these 2 be? What would you write?
Greater than or equal to 2, and y is greater than or equal to 0.
Yep. Did everybody understand that? These get switched like that. Now, for fun, we're going to graph, even though it doesn't tell you. This is fun.
I love it.
I want you to take this. Is this 1-to-1? We talked about 1-to-1 yesterday. Is this 1-to-1?
No.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Does it pass the horizontal line test? Yes. What prediction do I now know? What do I know is going to happen when I do the inverse?
The other one's gonna be a function?
The inverse is going to be a function. So when we do the inverse, you get to do this. F negative 1x equals.
To be fancy.
Okay, now, how do you find the inverse of these points? If this ordered pair is 0, 2, what's the inverse of 0, 2?
2, 0.
So there it is, right there. What's the inverse of 1, 3?
3, 1.
And what's the inverse of 4, 4?
4, 4.
And so this is my picture. Right? Right? Yes? Okay, now, let's play around with the equation. And you don't have much room, but I want you right down here, I want you to write y equals the square root of x plus 2. How do you invert this?
Look.
Okay, tell me what to write.
X equals
X equals
the square root of y
square root of y
plus
Plus 2.
plus 2. Now, how do you resolve this for y? What would you do?
Subtract 2.
Subtract 2. Then what would you do?
Square it, so you got FOIL, so it's x squared.
You don't foil,
Why
don't
don't you
foil.
FOIL?
Let's
Square
keep
it.
let's keep it like this, x minus 2 squared. Just keep it like this.
The parabola.
And this is a shift, it's a parabola, and it's shifted, we talked about transformations, it's shifted 2 units to the, remember when it's in parentheses?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, see, it's shifted 2 units right, and now technically,
It's
if
on
I,
the other end.
it looks like this. This is normally what y equals x squared, x minus 2 squared looks like, it's this whole thing. But by restricting the domain in the range, look at our domain and range, see if it matches. I only wanted this dark part. So did it match? X is greater than or equal to 2, did it match?
Yeah.
And y is greater than or equal to 0, did it match? It sure did. So see the importance of restricting this, knowing this? Because technically you took this firecracker, firework, arc thing, and when you did the inverse of it, you got double trouble. But we don't want this piece right here. We only want this piece. So by saying x is greater than or equal to 2 and y is greater than or equal to 0, you are actually disregarding this piece right here. Okay? See if you can do the next one. The y equals square root of x minus 2. So where would this look, what a square root of x minus 3, where would this be?
Down 3.
Down 3,
Go up 1 over 1.
up 1 over 1, and then up 4 over 2, right? So it looks like that.
over 4.
Can you tell me the domain and the range of this function? What's the domain? And write it right here. This is gonna be this one.
Would that, wait, no,
X is greater than
Huh?
equals.
wouldn't that last one be from zero, sorry? Cause you said you're going over or up to, right?
Over 4 up 2.
Okay,
So what's the domain and the range of this one?
Domain is X greater than equal to 0 and Y is greater than equal to negative.
Good. Now, if you were to do the inverse, what would this be? X is,
X is greater than or equal to negative 3, Y is greater than or equal to
okay, so now let's graph this, the inverse. So what's the inverse of 0, negative 3?
3, 0.
So it's over here, negative 3, 0. How about the next point?
2 negative 3.
Over 1 down 2. So it's gonna be, instead of 1, negative 2, you're gonna go negative 2, 1, right? In 4, negative 1, you're gonna go
Negative 1, 4.
negative 1 and 4. So this is this one.
I think it's kind of like easier to think of it like you know it's going to be a parabola,
Yeah.
so you know how to draw it.
Yeah.
And
So if you were to take this, y equals the square root of x minus 3, how do you find the inverse of it? What do? X equals the square root of y minus 3, then do what?
plus 3, X plus 3. and
X
then
plus
square.
3 equals the square root of y, then what?
So X plus 3 squared.
Square both sides, so you get x plus 3 squared equals y, and guess what that is? That's this, but
with
it's
another
shifted, it's not finished. But you don't want that anyway, but I'm just gonna show you why this equation looks like this. But why do we only want this piece, and does this match what we wrote right here? Are we using the x values that are greater than or equal to negative 3? We are. Here's negative 3, we're going that way. And are we using the y values greater than 0? We are. So see how important this is? Aren't you guys fascinated?
Mind is blown.
Your mind is blown. Do you get this?
Yeah.
Okay, go to the back. Okay, check out this one. Y equals square root of x minus 3. Does anybody know what this thing does? Minus 3, it's
No,
gonna
right.
shift your graph 3 units where?
Right.
3 units right. Can everybody take the graph and go 3 units right?
Yep.
And I'm off the page. 1, 2, 3. That's okay. So this is y equals you get that? Now, can you tell me the inverse of this, what it's gonna be? So what point is that? That's 3, 0. What's the inverse of this one gonna be? 0, 3. And we have 4, 1, so we have 1, 4. And we have, this is gonna be 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, so we're gonna go 2, 7. Looks like that, right? Do you guys agree? Now, did the original pass the horizontal line test? Yes. So is the inverse gonna be a function? Yes. So you're gonna write f negative 1 of x, but of what? What's this equation? Some of you might know it just by looking, you can figure it out if you, like Nick said. He knows it's a parabola. Does anyone know? Can anyone predict what the equation's gonna be when you do the inverse of it?
X plus 3 squared.
X squared plus 3, that's what it's gonna be. But let's do it the right way. How do you take this and do the inverse? You're gonna write x is equal to the square root of y minus 3. Do you get that part? Then we're gonna square both sides. If you square both sides, you get x squared equals y minus 3, then do what? Add 3, and wow. This was that. That. Now, what did we not do? We did not write the restrictions. So what is the domain of the original one? You can write it right here. What's the domain of the original function?
X is greater than or equal to 3.
X is greater than or equal to 3. And what's the range?
Y is greater than or equal to
Good. Now, when you did the inverse, did you have X is greater than or equal to 0
Yeah.
and Y is greater than or equal to 3?
Yeah.
Check it out. Did it work?
Yes.
Did it match? Does that make sense? So how would you do the next one? Square root of X plus 2. Where's this one gonna be? Shifted 2 units to the left, and over 1 up 1, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2. So here's the other one. Here is y equals the square root of x plus 2. Did everyone get that?
Exponential.
And now give me the inverse. What's the inverse of negative 2, 0? So that's that point. Negative 1, 1 is going to be 1, negative 1. And 2, 2 is going to be 2, 2. So this is this one right here. And I wished I could have done these on individual graphs, but I just was using too much paper. So can you tell me, give me the domain of the original. X is greater than or equal to what? Negative 2, and y is greater than or equal to 0. So what's the inverse one going to be?
X is greater than or equal to 0.
X is greater than or equal to 0, and y is greater than or equal to negative 2. Does it make sense? If you were to finish this, it would look like this parabola. Now, do the inverse for this. So you had y equals the square root of x plus 2. I want the rule, the inverse rule. What would you do?
Square.
Square both
And
sides
subtract 2.
and subtract 2. And make sure you write f, turn this into f negative 1 of x, because the original was 1 to 1. It passed the horizontal line test. Do you get this?
Yes.
Okay, now, problem 3, we're gonna do the old way. Section 6.8 is not about inverses. I just thought it was a good idea to review how to graph these and tie it in. So, tomorrow, we're gonna start with problem 3. Tomorrow, we're gonna officially be into 6.8, okay? So tomorrow and Friday, we're gonna finish 6.8. And when you come back from Christmas break, this is the deal. We're going to do 1 day of review, and on Tuesday, you're gonna have a big chapter 6 test. It's gonna be, you're gonna have a partner test, then we're gonna review on Wednesday, and Thursday's gonna be your individual test. So the week you guys come back, just so you know. So today's Thursday. Today's the 19th.
Today's Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, I'm sorry.
I wish today was
I'm,
Thursday.
okay, so let me go back. Today's Wednesday, 12/18.
I work Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's no man.
Because a lot of people are asking me what's the game plan. Okay, so today I want you to go back and clean up 6.7. Get this done, know how to do inverses and how to write domain and range. That's the objective of that. Tomorrow, we are going to graph 6.8 and we're gonna finish it on Friday. We're gonna walk away with no homework. We are done. If anybody wants a packet or a review over the week, the 2 weeks, let me know. I will give you some extra credit or something.
Okay.
Now, when you come back, on Monday, I think it's the 6th.
It is.
It's the 6th. Monday, I'm going to do a review.
With everyone doing
with review of chapter 6.
Is there 6.0?
Then Tuesday, there's a 6.6, but we're gonna do it separately. Then on Tuesday, this is so far the game plan. Tuesday, we're gonna do a partner test on chapter 6. Wednesday, we're gonna review, and Thursday is the big individual
God
test.
help me that first week.
How will
Okay.
is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, no test this week, I've been asked a million times, I just feel like it's rushed. We're not gonna, take a test this week, we're gonna take it when you come back, okay?